Hey everybody, this is going to be the first video of a bunch of videos that's going to make up a series on a new build. So I'm going to call this kind of like video 001. And hopefully I can keep these all sequential and numerical because this is going to be a really fun build. Okay, so I need to start off though setting some facts. I'm going to stay in radio control aircraft until the day I die, okay? But this project I'm going to do is outside of radio control aircraft, and I don't normally do a video log on anything that's not radio control aircraft. But don't worry, my aviation pals. I'm going to build a aircraft I can strap myself into and actually go flying around. So I'm building an ultralight. I have had friends for many years hound me, saying, you know, Damon, you're building 60% model airplanes, climb in it and fly it. Now, all of you know model airplanes are built extremely light. Even though they're almost the size of a full-scale airplane, they structurally couldn't hold the loads, okay? So I'm going to be building an ultralight, and the reason I'm building an ultralight is, you know, many of you know I've been a pilot my whole life. I haven't been current for about 20 years, but I love to fly. Just because I'm not current doesn't mean I have not been flying airplanes in the last 20 years. I just can't log it. I've always been with an instructor. I've done quite a bit of aerobatic training flights in T6s down in Kissimmee, Florida. And actually I can log those, but not pilot and command. I do get a certificate or a little card from the instructor that I can log it as aerobatic training time, but I'm just not pilot and command or PIC, P-I-C. But one of the biggest reasons I want to build an ultralight is I don't have to deal with the FAA at all. The FAA has been very clear, and I've actually talked to them on many occasions about ultralights. If a plane is less than 254 pounds, I think I just got that right. Yeah, if it's under 254, they don't even care it exists. If I were to have an accident with my ultralight and hit a car or a house or something where the FAA was called, if they showed up and I gave them the documentation to prove that my plane's under 254, they're just like, call your insurance company, we're out of here. We don't care about your ultralight. And that's under Part 103 in the FAA. So now you're going to say, which airplane did I pick? Well, I picked an airplane called the Air Bike. And it's an ultralight that's designed around a 30 to a 45 horsepower motor. I'm going to keep mine as light as possible, and mine's a putt-putt. One thing about a ultralight aircraft is there's very stringent rules for it to remain an ultralight and not become a real airplane. The moment it becomes a light sport aircraft or a, you know, the FAA recognized airplane, you have to get an N number, register it, go through all kinds of crap. This airplane I can build 100% myself, take it to a field, strap myself in, and just fly it. Now, some people are going to say, why not a powered parachute? I think those are great, and everybody thinks they're neat. In Indiana, we have a lot of turbulent air when you're down low over the hot asphalt, or you're over trees, or you're over cornfields. And when I used to skydive, dust devils would hurt people. And you know, dust devil is that clear little miniature tornado, or whatever you want to call it, that goes across the cornfields, and when it hits dust, you actually see it. But if it's not hitting dust, you don't see it. And if you fly into it with a parachute, it can kill you. So with an airplane, I know if I hit turbulence, I can fly through it. I know my canopy is not going to collapse. I know if I'm down and low and slow and I lose an engine, at least I've got control of where I can put the airplane. If I have a parachute collapse above my head, you have no control. So I gave it a lot of thought. Plus, this is going to be a lot cheaper. Most powered parachutes are about 12 grand by the time you get your canopy and you get your engine and all your stuff. You got 12 to 15,000. The Hertz engine for this airplane is about all up with exhaust and all this stuff, prop, it's about $4,000. I can build this whole airplane, I believe right now, for less than 5,000. So I think this whole airplane will be under 9,000. I actually think it will be under 8. I got a lot of research to do on it though, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But the reason I'm kind of starting this video the way I am is one of the things I always do when I build something is look at the hardest things that I have to conquer. This airplane has my mind just went blank. It has let me put it this way. The entire fuselage is made out of 4130 steel tube, but it's really thin wall tubing. And I'll discuss that in a minute too. So the thing is that I need to make sure I can weld up this fuselage before I build the wings, which are going to be absolutely cool, or I try to build any other part of the airplane. So I've been a pretty good stick welder and MIG welder a long, long time. But I've never been great with using MIG on thin wall tubing. Every time I've tried to MIG thin wall tubing, I burn through it, or I get too cold of a weld. I just don't have much control. 20-some years ago, a friend of mine spent about 2 hours with me letting me play with a TIG welder. And he taught me a few techniques. And look, I'm not going to teach anybody how to TIG weld in my videos. Okay, I'm a novice. Everything I'm learning right now is from my 30 friends that are in aerospace that do TIG, professional TIG welding, and YouTube. There are a million really cool videos. And I'll post some of those people I follow because there is some really good videos on YouTube on how to learn to TIG weld, and they are fantastic. So I went out and got me an Eastwood MiG 200, which was a huge investment for me. As my close friends know, I don't have any extra money right now. I've got a daughter getting ready to probably go to UVA or American or Georgetown, one of those universities. And me and the wife are saving every dime we have. So my hobby money right now has to be generated from the hobby. So either I was selling 3D engines, which I've pretty much scaled that down. I have done a couple of landing gears, which I haven't told the world about because I don't want to do landing gears professionally for people, but I do make good money when I do landing gears for people. My daughter's going to college next spring, and we've spent the last 10 years riding dirt bikes and buggies. Well, she admitted to me that she's done riding the dirt bikes, and I know that if I sold my dirt bike and her dirt bike and the buggy, that's going to get me pretty close to $4 or $5 grand. So that's going to pay for the big majority of this airplane. And I do have a fund each year that I put all my money into, that I make off stuff that I pay for the hobby with. So out of that came my MiG 200. Now, I will talk about how good of a TIG welder this is. I did a lot of research, and there's a lot of crappy reviews on this when it first came out like 4 or 5 years ago. But in the last 2 years, I can't find anybody that doesn't like it. It comes with a 3-year warranty. It's about $750. So if I got 3 good years of TIG welding out of this for $750 and able to build my airframe, that's kick-ass. Okay, to me, that's a good investment. The argon tank cost me $220, and it came full of argon. And every time I need to top it off, it's $45 to top it off with the argon. So I don't think that's too bad. And but I had to make sure I could master welding the 4130 thin wall tubing to make this fuselage before I pull the trigger to build this airplane. So hopefully over here you'll see a few pictures of some welds I've done. Now my welds aren't pretty, okay? I know I'm going to have people saying, hey, it's too hot, or it's too cold, or it's this. I have cut my welds up and tried to put long pipes on my welds and taken sledgehammers on my welds. My welds are mechanically sound welds, okay? So I know there are some people out there going to go, oh, your weld has to be perfect. Well, my welds are pretty freaking good considering 20 years ago I had 2 hours of experience, and now I've only spent 4 hours. To me, it's no different. I used to do a lot of gas and stick welding, if that's what you want to call it, where I had oxygen and acetylene would, turn it into a liquid puddle, and then I would feed my filler rod. So to me, TIG welding is no different, except I'm not using the gas tank and the acetylene. And it may be different for you experts out there. But the great news is I know I can build this fuselage. Okay, I know without a doubt I can build this fuselage. So that's what I set up here, was a station to experiment, make sure I could do it. I have been experimenting with the, I don't remember how thin my, I have two electrodes. One is 3/32, and the other one is, hang on a minute. I hate to run away from you guys. 1/16. So I've been experimenting with the 1/16 and the 3/32. One thing I love about what I'm learning here is if I take the 1/16 electrode and use a 3/32 filler rod, I can get on this thin wall tubing and I can see it crystal clear as it starts to puddle, and I can tell if I'm getting the metal too hot, and then I can sit there and start feeding the filler rod. And it takes a while with that smaller electrode, but if I kind of do a figure 8, I learned, and I'm moving across it, I get incredible welds. And hopefully over here you're seeing some pictures. Right now I'll put up the one where I took a 10-pound sledgehammer and started beating the hell out of it, and it bent the square tubing and did not break the weld. So I am not scared of my welds, okay? And I've taken my metal bandsaw here and cut some of my welds right in half, and the penetration I'm getting using that 1/16 electrode and really getting into like the V of whatever the joint is, and puddling here and puddling here, and then right as the two puddles start to touch, I put in the filler rod and start to work it. Now the reason my welds don't look really good is because I'm starting and stopping. I am not that good yet with my holding my torch in my hand and doing radiuses. So I do about 20 degrees, stop, reposition, 20 degrees, stop. So don't send me emails telling me my welds are shit. I know that they won't look good, okay? So what I want to do now is, now in these videos, I'm going to try for the first time to take pictures or do video documentation of every step of building this. So what I'm going to do now is move the camera so we can talk about the drawings. And you're going to see over here, however I set up the camera, you're going to see a bunch of drawings. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on this today, everybody. So let me move the camera. Let me get set up here and make sure I've left room. So here on the table, which you can't see, there we go. Can you see that? Okay. So, am I leaving room over here? Yeah, okay. I'm just making sure I'm leaving room to show some of these drawings, okay? So what we're going to do is, as I said, this is called the Air Bike. And it was made originally by ISON or ISON Aircraft, which became Team something. But the guy that sells the drawings right now is a really nice guy. He gets a lot of heat for not responding to emails. He gets a lot of heat for just not being there. He doesn't sell the airframes anymore. I think he still sells the fiberglass parts, which I probably won't use because I'm going to really keep this plane as light as I can. Like the wing tips and stuff like that. I don't need an aerodynamic ultralight. Ultralights can't go very fast, or they're not an ultralight. So I don't need a really efficient plane. I just want something to go flying around the cornfields of Indiana. So right now you should be seeing a drawing over here, and I'm going to make sure that I get way over here so I'm leaving plenty of room. But this is what's called drawing 1, and this shows all the dimensions of the fuselage. Now the reason they call this an air bike is there's a narrow seat in the middle that you sit on, and your legs are on the sides of the fuselage where the rudder pedals are. So you're almost like sitting on a bike. The cool thing for me about this is that there's going to be nothing between me and the ground. I'm going to have a seat, my harness, seat belt, and I'm going to be hanging under this almost like an ultralight. So I think that's going to be really freaking cool. So this is page 1. This shows all the dimensions. If you notice some of the pink ink on here, this is where I've added my own notes, my own dimensions. I've added some tubing sizes that are on other pages to this. As you can see, this entire airframe is 4130. Thin wall, 0.035, 0.058. 0.12 is the thickest. And I think that's part of the landing gear. Yeah, it is. So that's drawing number 1. Drawing number 2 here, which is give you a little bit better idea of what's going on here. If you look to the right-hand side of the drawing, it says side view. That's basically your seat. You're going to be sitting in there. Your head's going to be underneath that top tubing, square tubing at the top, which basically your wings attach to. But this is really, really cool. I love the drawings. As I mentioned, the people that sell this now, they're basically just selling drawings. The guy's got a full-time job. If you want to get a hold of him, you can normally call him in the evening and he'll answer. And I'll put that somewhere in my screen here where I bought all these drawings. So that's drawing number 2. And I'm going to do a video where we go through each one of these drawings individually and talk about what they mean to me. I have spent a boatload of time late at night studying these drawings. So if you're ever going to build an airplane you're going to fly in, you need to know these drawings almost like you've drawn them yourself. I am converting some of this over to CAD to be able to make, there's going to be a long table, which is going to be the jig that I build the airframe up off of with tubing, and I've already had to draw that table in CAD, well actually in 3D, and all the jigs that's going to hold the pipes, I've already drawn that late at night. So this next drawing is kind of cool because it gives you an idea of the airframe with all the different type of welds. So that's what I've done the last day and a half late at night, is made basically, well, not every one of these welds, but made many of these welds so I know I can do it, okay, and I can. So I took basically an example of most of these welds, the angles especially, and wanted to be able to make sure I could weld it, and it came out really, really good. So the next drawing is the landing gear. And there's nothing real complicated about this landing gear. It's really super simple. I mean, this airplane is going to be so light. Basically, I'm going to find plastic wheelbarrow wheels, and that will be the tires on this airplane. So these, this drawing number 5 is the rudder pedals that are mounted on the airplane. The drawing on the left, I mean the illustration on the left of the drawing is you're looking at the aircraft from the side. So your heel sits down in that stirrup kind of, and your foot sits up on the top peg. If you look on the right, you can kind of see that stirrup at the bottom that your foot sits into. And then you basically got a rudder pedal there, which I think is really, really cool. And the next drawing is the rear of the airplane where the rudder is. And this is just basically showing the very, very farthest back point of where the rudder attaches. Now, the next drawing here, if there's, you know, that one thing when you buy this airplane, it's really, really clear in the little manual that comes with it. Excuse me. If you change anything on this airplane, you can't call it an air bike. You have to build it exactly per plans and specs to call it an air bike. So the only thing that I have noticed in this entire airplane that really makes me kind of wonder, this was designed back in the 90s. So, you know, a lot of my friends have said, hey, look, if there's improvement, man, you should be improving it. Well, I don't know yet. I have not seen anything except one thing on this entire design that I question. And that's this page right here. So this looks pretty complicated, but right here in the middle, and I have no idea how good this is showing up on the screen for you. But right here on the, basically, there's a pivot for your ailerons. But your elevator is a push-pull, not a pull-pull, but a push-pull cable. It's a big 1/4-inch cable. It's an industrial heavy-duty cable. But they designed this airplane that when you pull back on the elevator stick, it is actually pulling, which you want. You want that to be in tension. But when you're pushing, that cable is pushing the elevator down. So in my mind, it's kind of like, gosh, if that cable ever flexed or anything, you wouldn't have a down elevator. But there's 100 or plus, 200 of these planes flying. Nobody's ever changed it as far as I know. But that push-pull cable just seems a little bit nervous to me. I know we used it in RC, but man, when you think, I like to think of something mechanically being pull or being push rods. You know, and one reason they have the cable on this is where your aileron control is pivoting on a rod. Okay, so if this part pivots, it's hard to have tubing pivot. That goes back to the elevator. So by having a cable there, when this pivots, you know, that little 40-degree movement doesn't hurt that cable. But this is one of the only things in the entire design so far that I question a little bit. Here's a little bit better picture of that. If you look at this, if you can see it, but that is the control stick on a push-pull cable that connects to your elevator. So when you pull back, it pulls the elevator up like it should. The next drawing is the struts that hold the wing on. And I got that one upside down. So basically this is aluminum tubing with some fittings I've got a machine. This is really straightforward. It's exciting. It should take me about maybe a half hour to put the wings on this. So, oh, the neat thing is this airplane will fit in my trailer as is. Okay. Oh, one thing about the fuselage that's really neat. The fuselage comes in 2 halves. You can build it so it can come apart. So what's really neat is down in the basement, I'm going to build the front half and the back half of the fuselage. Then I can take them to the garage. I'll put the bolts in there, and then I might do the final weld to make the fuselage one piece, because I don't imagine ever bringing the fuselage back down here. The next page just shows a bunch of different illustrations of parts and pieces and covering and the seat belts and the seat. The seat is 12 inches wide. There is a wing fairing. When the wings are put together, there's a aluminum thing that comes across that closes that gap in the upper left-hand corner here. The next one is if you mount one of the Rotax engines. Keep in mind this stuff is all from the 90s, so some of these engines aren't even made now. There's a Hearth engine, which is 29 horsepower. That's what I plan on putting on this. All up, that propeller and exhaust and everything is about 4,000. I think I mentioned that. Here, believe it or not, this was a Zenoa G25 that was made for this airplane, and they don't make that engine anymore. But most of you guys know that we flew Zenoas on our model airplanes, much smaller ones though. And this one's still another drawing showing the Rotax on there. And now we get into some really exciting stuff here, okay? Really exciting. So, the wings. I would love to build the wings first, but this is why I'm not. I can build all the ribs down here. I think I can build the spars down here and get them out of the basement, but I cannot build the whole wing and get it out of the basement. It won't fit. So, I want to build the fuselage first, and then I'll probably put that in storage, and then I'll build all the parts of the wings here before I move into the garage. So what I want to do is spend this winter basically building the fuselage, spend most of next summer, you know, just getting the fuselage 100% built. The tail feathers, the fuselage, the wheels, all the controls, and I think it's going to take me about 1.5 years. So what I hope is by next fall, I'm starting the wing, which means I can build all the ribs, I can build all the spars, I can build everything I need for the wings. And then that next spring, take it to the garage where it's warmer, and I can spend the whole summer doing the final build of the wings. So this is going to be a 2 to 2.5 year project, I think. It might be less than that, but that's what I'm seeing right now. So this first drawing is a full-scale one. I'm supposed to cut out and use for my rib template, which I'll show you on the next page. But this is how the rib's made. Now this is something I need to do research on, and I've done some. But this is what's weird is, all the wood in this wing except the spars is made from either Douglas fir or yellow southern pine, and then just the spar hard points, not the webbing, but the stringers of the spar is made of spruce. So I started thinking, well, why aren't the ribs made out of spruce? I think it's to keep this airplane as cheap as possible. because when I look at all of my data, my engineering data on wood, Douglas fir and white pine is heavier than spruce, but they're all almost the same structurally strength-wise. So I looked at it, and it's going to cost me about $400 more on the whole project if I built the ribs out of spruce than going out to Home Depot and buying some Douglas fir and stripping my own parts. But I need to research that more to make sure I'm right. And I'm going to ask some of my other EAA friends about that thought, because to build these ribs out of Douglas fir would be dirt cheap, because I can go to Home Depot and buy that and take my table saw and strip out the 1/4x to make this. Or I could go to Aircraft Spruce and buy the 1/4x spruce and build them out of that. So I don't mind spending an extra $400 if it's going to save me 10 pounds of weight. And that's what one of my first calculations was. I got between 10 and 20 pounds of weight savings on wood if I go with spruce versus Douglas fir. Now this page here, actually on the top, shows the way I'm supposed to do the template. It's kind of neat. You take dowel rods, drill the holes all centers, and you can pivot them to hold things in place firmly. So that will be one of the first things I do once I build the wing, is build that jig. And I mean, isn't this cool? I mean, this is just beyond cool. Now the spars are really, really interesting. I mean, I'm blown away that on an airplane that you're going to fly in, there's so little wood in these spars. But if you look at it structurally, it's a bridge. I mean, oh, another thing that's interesting, nowhere in this does it tell me what kind of plywood to use. On the leading edges, there's plywood. The cap strips, which is a continuous on this spar, is plywood. So I'll probably go with birch or something like that, which I know is not light. But to go with light plywood, I just don't think it would be strong enough. So, but there's nothing in these plans to say if it should be birch. And I've seen, EAA planes built, and that's always a stronger plywood than light plywood. I mean, we use it in model airplanes all the time. So that's the way the spar is. The next drawing here is a plan view of the wing, which is absolutely sexy. This is the coolest drawing in the world. Keep in mind, when I built my MSL wing, it was almost identical to this construction, my MSL 1. So to me, this is just going to be time and just taking my time and understanding the drawings. But this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to build these wings. I love working with wood, and I love building wooden wings. I just absolutely love it. So this next one shows a aileron detail. It's a full spanned aileron. And when I get into these deeper, I'll talk about the way it's designed and some of the construction. Because I had a couple of things in there that really had me confused at first, but I figured it out. The next one is the tail wheel and the landing gear basically being installed on the airplane. The top left-hand corner shows the bolts that you can take apart to remove the front half of the fuselage from the back. It shows the fuel tank placement and the tail gear. So this is all super cool. And then this last one here just basically shows the rigging that holds the horizontal stab on and stuff like that. It shows the control cables for the rudder and just stuff like that. This next drawing you're looking at, which is probably going to be hard to put on the video screen over here, is the rudder. I'm sorry, the vertical stabilizer, not the rudder. The vertical stabilizer. I always call these rudders, but you know what I mean. This is the vertical stabilizer. And, it's weird. They keep talking about tubed spring steel. I can't find tubed spring steel anywhere. I'm going to do some testing because, 3/4 inch fiberglass rod would probably do fine on that tail wheel. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more and find out, because I've had some fiberglass rod that's good for 4,000 pounds. So I'm not sure what's going on with, it says tail spring, 3/4 inch diameter. I can't find spring steel and tubing. So maybe they're just saying use it as the spring and hope it doesn't bend. I don't know. But I got to research that. The next drawing is the actual, oh, this is a full-scale drawing of the elevator control, which somehow or another I get this turned around. But this is a full-scale drawing of the elevator, push rod, and some other attachment, stretch attachment points and stuff. So that's what that is. And these are big drawings because they're full scale, they're 1-to-1 scale. Now we're looking at the elevator, which is upside down. I got all my drawings kind of messed up right now. And that's my elevator. And there is the rudder. Nope, that's another picture of the elevator. Yep, that's the other side of the elevator. Oh no, I'm sorry. See, guys, I had it upside down. That's my horizontal stabilizer right there. That's my horizontal stabilizer. You can tell I've had these drawings all out and screwed them all up in orientation. And now we got the rudder. So as you can see, this is going to be super cool. The next video is probably going to be a little bit about either the welding, or it's going to be about building the table that's a jig to build the fuselage off of. So, but this is going to be a full, I'm going to document everything with pictures, try to do as much video as I can, and let you see every step of the way. And hopefully in about 2.5 years, I'll strap a bunch of GoPros on this thing and we will take it for a ride. And so thanks for watching the videos, everybody. Keep the emails coming. If you've got any questions, keep them coming. And I think that's all I need for now. So rock on, everybody. Have a great day and be safe.